Heading into December, you may think that there is not a whole lot that can be done in the garden. And in temperate climates, that's true. This is a time that we do tend to rest a little bit, especially if we've had a long, hard season of gardening. But there's just something in the heart of a gardener that sometimes, especially in the dark days of December, that wants to be doing something to help prepare for next year's season. So in this video, I'm going to show you a few things that you can be doing in December. Nothing too hard, but something to just be able to give you hope and excitement for the season to come. What outdoor tasks that you can be doing in December will likely depend on your climate, of course, the temperature, your relative tolerance to cold, whether you have snow cover on the garden or not, and then whether you planted a fall garden. For me, in Zone 7B, where my average first frost date is November 1st, although we had a freeze 2 weeks early this year, December is a time where I tend to start really harvesting a lot of my fall crops. They can take a freeze. Some of them I will cover with a floating row cover if temperatures get too low. Typically mid-20s, I'm covering many of my fall crops like broccoli, like celery, lettuce. Sometimes it just depends on the variety. Some kinds are more tolerant than others. And sometimes I will cover cabbage as well. But for me, I've found that cabbage tends to be a little bit more cold hardy. In the lower 20s, it tends to do okay. Broccoli tends to suffer for me about below 26 or so. That's when I usually try to harvest my broccoli and get it out by the end of December. And carrots, I tend to overwinter because the root will stay fine underneath the soil, especially in my zone. I just want to get them harvested usually before spring, by late February. But in the meantime, I can harvest carrots all winter long to just be able to grocery shop from my garden. So really, if you live in a climate like mine where you're able to harvest your fall crops, even if they're mature through later in the fall, early part of winter, this is a good time to really keep an eye on your low temperatures at night and cover when you need to. You may not have to cover every night, but it's something that you want to do is observe when your crops start to suffer. And one thing that you can do, and one thing I did last year, is with my broccoli in particular, I would harvest when we started getting to about 24 degrees Fahrenheit. And then I would leave a test broccoli head out to see, is it going to suffer? Is it going to be okay? And if you're a beginning fall gardener and you're just not really sure, how low can some of these crops go, that's what I recommend you do. Harvest them so that you don't lose the whole crop, but leave one out there just to see. Because unless you have experience with knowing how low that these crops can handle, then you really don't know when the best time to harvest would be. So if you're a brand new fall gardener, use this as an opportunity to observe, especially heading into the winter. Another thing you might be able to do, depending on your climate, is to take advantage of some pretty days that may occur in December. I know they're starting to get fewer and far between, but in some climates, you might have a random day that is sunny and in a temperature you're comfortable with. I've learned that that's relative to your climate. For me, 50s is about my max. In the 40s, I'm not usually outside, but I'm a Southern girl and that's just my tolerance. But what you can do, whatever your tolerance is when you get a sunny, nice day and you're itching for something to do in the garden, this is a great time to do garden projects. The projects that you really don't have time to do during the course of the garden season. I was looking back at past pictures and videos of things that I had done in December, and I've done all sorts of things like build a compost tumbler, build a compost pile, create an area for my shredded leaves. I've done a composting sifter, which was a fun project, but it ended up not working out as well as I thought, but it was something to do and something to get me outside in the dark days of December. So there are lots of little projects that you might be able to do on a pretty day in December that you don't have time to do during the garden season, but it also gets you outside and gets you excited about your garden next year. Regardless of your climate though, I think it's important for all of us from time to time, especially during the winter, as we can, to just get outside and walk the garden as much as we can. I know if you're covered with snow, that may not be as ideal. But if you don't have snow on the ground, just take a nice sunny afternoon and walk your garden. A lot of times this is where your dreams and ideas will start to come to you as you just walk around and look around, reflect on what you did in the past season. But what you want to make sure and do is don't just let those dreams and ideas sit in your head, because you may not remember them, or they may all get just jumbled together. And so for that, I recommend that you go ahead and get a garden planner for the following year. I have been using a complete garden planner that I created that I've been selling in my shop for a few years. Honestly, it was the planner that I created because it was the planner that I wanted. And in the beginning of that planner, there's an area where you can just jot down your garden dreams. And this would be a great place just to have something to be able to put your ideas down on paper, and you can sort them out later. You don't have to do them all. We all tend to dream bigger in the off season, right? But at least you can get them on paper, and then you can revisit them later to decide what you actually want to do in your garden. If you're interested in taking a look at the Complete Garden Planner, it is printable and downloadable. You can get it right now, and we'll put a link in the description below. Okay, so far I've been talking about things you can do outside, because I do want to encourage you to get outside as much as you can, but at some point, the weather is going to make us go inside, whether that's a rainy day or it's just too cold for us. And there are things you can do inside to be able to work on your garden planning for next year. One of the biggest things that I like to do is to take stock of my food storage. If you are one who has already done canning, freezing, preserving of any kind, then you have some food in storage. And this is a good time to really take stock of what did you have enough of last year that you were able to can as much as you wanted or freeze as much as you wanted, and what did you not quite have enough of? And was that because you just had a hard garden year like last year? We did not get the tomato harvest that we normally get, or is it because you didn't plant enough? And if you find out it's because you didn't plant enough, then that's something else that can go in your garden planner. Note to plant more of this, plant less of this, based on what you're actually using in your pantry from your food storage. And like I said, you may determine that there are areas that you want to grow more of, but you can also figure out what you want to grow less of. For example, I realized that we were not eating that many canned green peas, and I still had some from the year before. I didn't use it all. So this past year in 2022, I didn't grow any shelling peas. And that was really hard because I'd grown shelling peas for years and I really enjoy growing them. But knowing that I truly didn't need them gave me space to be able to devote to other things that we did need and that we did want. And I have to say, I didn't regret skipping a year growing shelling peas at all. So having a knowledge of what you have plenty of and what you might want to skip next year is also a really good decision to make. Might be a hard one, especially if it's a crop that you're used to growing, but think about the space that it gives you to be able to look at future things that you can plant in your garden that will serve you even better. That's one area in my garden that I've gotten to be more strategic with, and that's why I added a sheet in the Complete Garden Planner that's all about your food storage and your preserving, and it allows me to keep track of how much I have and how much I've used. So when it comes to planting my garden next year, I can get an idea of what I truly ran out of and what I truly need. It really does make a difference when you put all this on paper, and that's why I included that sheet to make it easy in the Complete Garden Planner. Another thing that you may have noticed starts happening in December, especially if you have ever placed a seed order online, is that your mailbox starts to get full of seed catalogs. And this is so much fun. It's like the Sears toy catalog. You remember those as a kid? For gardeners. I love getting these catalogs in the mail. And if you've never gotten one in the mail, just place a seed order from a company and you'll probably start getting them. Or you can request some of those catalogs directly from the websites that you're interested in purchasing seed from. But what you want to do when you start getting those seed catalogs in is just take some time, rest on one of those evenings. I love it when the fire's in the fireplace and we have football on TV and maybe a mug of coffee. And I take my Sharpie and I just start reading through the seed catalog and I start circling ideas, seeds that sound interesting to me. I'm able to take some time to really read the descriptions, and some catalogs are so interesting to read of certain possibilities that you could have with certain crops. This is not a time to get all specific of this is what I want to order. December is the time for you to be able to just sit back and enjoy the possibilities. We'll get to paring them back later. Obviously, not everything I circle in seed catalogs I end up ordering, but it gives you a chance to start brainstorming of some ideas that you may want for possibly purchasing seed in your garden. So as those seed catalogs start coming in, just use some time and relax and start circling all the possibilities. Along the lines of seed, this is also a great time to take a seed inventory. If you've ever ordered seeds in the past, or you're saving your own seeds, or both, sometimes I know for me, I lose track of what I have, and I lose track of what dates. Sometimes I have seeds that are too old and I probably need to toss them. And so this is a good time to just go through all of your seeds, see what you have and see what you need. And again, I have a sheet in the Complete Garden Planner that makes that really easy. That way, when you do get back to those seed catalogs and you get ready to place that order, you know exactly what you need and what you don't. You don't want to spend money for seed that you don't need. So make sure you know what you have before you start ordering new seeds. If you're seeing a theme here for December, it's that for me, December is a time to dream. It's a time to step back and relax. Enjoy the fact that you worked hard last season if you did garden, if you're not a first-time gardener yet, and understand that no matter your trials, no matter what went well or what didn't go so well, this is a time to rest in that. Be grateful for what you've done, give yourself a pat on the back for the hard work, and then start looking forward. Because to me, that's what makes winter bearable, is to be able to have the excitement and the hope of a new season. It's not time to get all hands in the dirt. Well, I guess you could if you wanted to, but get focused on the to-dos of the garden, but to dream. So enjoy December for what it's worth, because on December 22nd, for those of us in the Northern Hemisphere, the days start getting longer and we can start feeling the daylight shift, and we've got that hope of the garden in the future. So again, if you're interested in the Complete Garden Planner, we'll put a link in the description. And also, if you're a member of our Patreon community, I do a podcast every month telling you exactly what I'm doing in my garden. And December's will be what I'm doing personally in my garden. Some of these tasks will be on here, but others will be unique to this garden season. So I would love for you to join me in my Patreon community to be able to get that podcast and other bonus podcasts and videos inside. Oh, and did you notice all of this cover crop? This is the True Leaf Market Garden cover crop mix. If you didn't see that video, check that out. This is growing amazing, isn't it? I just love being around it. All right, if you like this video, make sure and like and subscribe, and I will have lots more garden planning videos coming up for you as we head into the 2023 season.